set up in their basement for the puppies. And she went to step into it to clean it and didn't realize and stepped on one of the puppies and killed it.
Oh,
yeah. And then, like a year later, we all went to Florida, and one of the dogs had just had puppies. So my grandmother also bred dogs. So they gave my grandmother the dog and the puppies to look after. While we were in Florida, the mother dog got out and got hit by a car on the road.
Oh, no.
Can you imagine? How do you tell people that when they get back from vacation? Here's your puppies. Mom is dead.
I don't know why I'm laughing. This is all just so horrific. I mean, because because we're instigators, and I always laugh at the most inappropriate things. But, and right. So my fear is real. Okay, Sam. As soon as I'm done with the story, I'm going to get the puppy so you can see him. He's sleeping over here. So I'm like, okay, he's got to go obviously for his veterinarian visit. Well, because of the COVID thing, I had to wait. So he did go, and they did that thing where they come out to your car and they took the puppy and they brought him in. You know what I mean? And I waited in the car. So the vet calls me and he's like, all right, first things first. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Am I going to have to put the dog down? Because your biggest, here I'm like, I don't know anything about this little dog. I knew that he had a big soft spot on the top of his head that is larger than normal for Chihuahuas. So he goes, all right, first things first, I have to tell you that he's really cute. I'm like, really? You had to okay. So he tells me he's cute. Then he's like, yes, I'm like, he has bad breath. How old do you think he is? And he's like, oh, he's probably, you're right, about 8 months. Because my other thing was they're gonna tell me he's 10 because his breath is so rotten. They're gonna be like, oh, he's about 10. I'm like, oh, great. So everything was fine, but he just said he was concerned about the soft spot on the top of his head, and I'm like, oh yeah, I knew that about that. I said I could feel it, and he goes, well, I'm worried because it's really larger than most little Chihuahuas. And he's like, but I'm going to talk to somebody I know to get more information. And he may have to have brain surgery. And they're going to go in there and try to close up his head. He goes, or maybe there's a piece of mesh we can put in it. I'm like, are you kidding? So he says, but it may just close on its own. Just be very careful. He's fine. So I come home and I decide I've got to Google this whole thing. So in my Googling, I learned that little Chihuahuas that have this large soft spot hole on the top of their head, it's a sign of purity. And right. So the National Kennel Club, right? What are they?
American Kennel Club.
That's
ACL. AKL. American Kennel.
So when they, how they had the little dogs, and when they feel them all on the table and they check them, when they check the little toy Chihuahuas, they feel for how big the hole on their head is. And if that hole, the bigger the hole, the more pure and the better the Chihuahua is considered to be. So apparently veterinarians and other people have been trying to get them to take that off. You know what I mean? So that people stop breeding Chihuahuas with these big holes in their head. That's the most bizarre thing. But apparently it's been going on for 10s and 20, 30, years and years. So I learned through all this that my little Chihuahua is as pure as they can be.
Oh, so I love it.
So I have a very pure Chihuahua that I could probably use as a show dog.
Wow.
But he doesn't have any papers, Sam, but he's got the hole in his head.
He's got the hole. All you need is the hole. Be like, did you feel the top of his head?
Right. When when I'm there, when that judge is doing the whole thing, I'd be like, feel his head. So what, he shits on the carpet. So what, he shits. This is not a
counterfeit dog, okay?
Right.
Feel the hole. Like practically a Fendi symbol.
That's right. Yeah. Dog. Oh, and it's diamond size. It's diamond is the shape. And his is a perfect diamond. Oh.
That's the bizarrest thing ever I've heard.
So when
I
Jen's
think
like,
that whole make that dog special needs and that was being really nice to you.
I know.
I would Google that is actually a thing because I think that is lying to you.
No. I Googled it myself. I Googled it. I felt the hole in his head. And I'll tell you why. Because one of the girls I work with, she was petting him. And she's like, she has had chihuahuas in the past. And she's like, I've had chihuahuas and they all have that little soft spot. But his is like really big. And I'm like,
maybe he's so dumb as people keep poking the hole.
Listen.
Maybe you hit it too hard and that's why his tongue is stuck out.
And you know what else the vet said? His tongue appears to be
longer than normal.
No, he used a word about for the tongue, like his tongue is descended. Like what?
I don't know what that means.
Well, because the dog, I'll show you when you see the dog.
Because he can't get it back in his mouth. It just hangs there all the time.
His tongue is always sticking out. Hold on.
Okay.
He looks like he's always blowing you raspberries.
I had chihuahuas when I was a little kid. I don't remember a soft spot or a tongue hanging out, so I probably had like ghetto chihuahuas. Like they weren't like
chihuahuas.
The fancy 5-star chihuahuas.
You had the chihuahua.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sam? Do you see him?
Oh, look at you. Oh, yes. I do. There is that little hangout tongue. Like Rude Dog. Like Rude Dog from the 80s.
All right. So this is the little baby. He's so teeny. But you guys don't listen. I don't want to be creepy or anything, but I'm going to get really creepy. But this little dog, his penis is so enormous and freaky. Like, do you think it's because he's just like weirdly small? So, I mean, I don't want to like look at it.
Tell me his penis.
No, it's enormous.
Put the dog's penis away, Cindy. Put the penis away.
Sam, look at his penis.
I mean, I'm not an expert in dog penis.
But that's way too big for his little body.
If I can see it right now, it's got to be a good size.
Does he trip over it when he walks?
Listen, I don't know. Listen, it's a problem because my friend has like this huge pit bull, and she's even like she picked him up and was holding him, and she's like, "All right, his little puppy wee wee is bigger than my pit bulls, full grown pit bulls." I'm like, I know it's weird. So if I get him fixed, I'm hoping it'll like go away.
That's crazy.
Your dog's a pimp, Cindy. He's just a pimp.
He's a little pimp, but it's really freaky. You know what I mean? That his little lipstick is so huge. I don't know. All right, that was creepy. I'm sorry, Pico, but it's just weird. It's weird.
I mean, with a penis like that, I told you should name him Robert De Niro.
I know, no, but you know what? You guys, I was thinking like that. John Holmes, the porn star, we could have named him Mr. Holmes.
Oh, look at little Ron Jeremy.
Oh my God, that's
so
bad.
cute.
Oh, do that.
Pico, I can't help it. Look at his tongue now, Sam. See him?
I mean, that's a distended tongue. Oh.
Yeah, all right, Pico. Well, I should have asked the vet. I should have said, did you check out the balls on him?
Yeah. Did you see the dick on my dog?
Did you see the dick on my dog?
Is he fixed?
No, not yet. I have to. Oh, and when I get him fixed, they have to pull 2 of his teeth out if they haven't fallen out. 2 puppy teeth are still.
Why were these people giving away such a perfect dog? Like, it seems like that's the perfect dog to be breeding.
Exactly, right? I don't know. I got a prize.
Until we find out something seriously wrong with people.
Right, totally. Right.
Speaking of seriously wrong, are you guys following that YouTube? The people that gave back the adopted kid?
Oh, Sam, did you read the articles in our chat room?
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
And
all right.
all I have to say.
Quick rundown, though. Let's do a quick, Jen, do a very quick rundown on the story before because
she's a lifestyle influencer, whatever that means on YouTube, and her husband, he does like car auto detailing on YouTube.
Oh, so they both do something. Okay.
They both do have and I guess she has 700,000 followers. I don't know what he has, but they said it's a really popular channel.
Okay.
So years ago, they adopted this kid from China. And then a couple months ago, I guess, this kid just stopped showing up in her little family videos on YouTube. And people are like, where's your kid? And then it got onto Reddit and Twitter, and people are like, okay, yeah, seriously, lady, like, where's your kid? So they finally came out with a video, and, we're so heartbroken, and we just couldn't handle this child anymore. It was too many problems.
Bad fit for my family. The specialists and therapists thought he should be in a home with people who could better handle him. And
then all their time because they have a bunch of other kids.
And then she got pregnant again after she gave the little boy up, Sam, right?
Yep.
So she, there was a Facebook group for like adopting, I don't know if it was international children or specifically children from China. Somebody pulls up a super old post that she had posted before they got this kid. And she posted, I wish I'd saved it, but it was loosely along the lines of, what's a special need that's really easy to look after, but people would think is really hard to look after?
What?
So like it read like she was looking for a special needs kid that people would be like, oh, yay, good for you. You have this special needs kid, but that was actually a really easy one to look at. You know what I mean? Like have something a really weird name syndrome that actually really take that much work to look after, but people would be like, oh my God, you superhero for looking after this child with ABCD disease or whatever.
Right.
So they literally seeked out the child. They intended to get a child.
100%. They wanted a special needs child. Because
they made it seem like they just wanted to adopt this child and then found out he was special needs.
Well, she said they found out during the adoption process, but they didn't know the extent.
Right. But
he was autistic, right? So he probably, I mean, I know sometimes with autism, like at 2-3 years old, they'll, it'll come up, it'll show up, they'll just go backwards or stop progressing with their learning, and that might be what happened while they were trying to adopt him. So she didn't know the severity of it, right?
Okay, here's the actual post. We're praying about adopting again, and my husband wanted me to ask, what special needs would you consider minor or relatively easy to manage that most people wouldn't consider easy?
What?
Isn't that bizarre? Like,
yes.
Yeah, she's a monster. She is a complete monster, and I am so glad. And now I follow her because, of course, I had to go on her page. I'm like, oh, now I got to follow, just adding to her followers. But, I'm like, all right. But I didn't go deep on her YouTube. I only went through, like, her photos, and I saw the little boy. He looked maybe Filipino or Asian. I'm not sure.
He's Chinese. I'm pretty sure he was Chinese.
Okay. So she did go overseas to get him?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you imagine 3? Like, Sam, Cindy, you had kids too, but that was a long time and you didn't like your kids.
I don't count.
Sam, like, I feel at 3, they're kind of attached to you, eh?
Oh, absolutely.
Especially a special needs kid. Like,
absolutely. A special needs child does not take to change very well, especially if it's autistic. So that means he already went through, possible culture shock.
Which that he probably doesn't remember. Like, it sounds like that
probably doesn't.
So that's